Hi, everybody, and welcome to Elle Said What. I wanted to talk in this video. I wanted to talk about the probable cause affidavit and why the defense wanted to get that probable cause affidavit thrown out. The defense challenged the probable cause affidavit on behalf of their client, Richard Matthew Allen, in the Delphi murders on unconstitutional grounds. The defense says that the probable cause affidavit had misleading and false statements. And why is this probable cause affidavit important? Well, the probable cause affidavit is important because the probable cause affidavit is what led to the court granting Indiana State Police multiple search warrants for the search of Richard Allen's home and for the search of his car, his Ford Focus. And so, why is it important, right? You get the probable cause affidavit thrown out, then the search warrant is thrown out. And if the search warrant is thrown out, then the 75 items seized from Richard Allen's house and his car, none of that will be seen by jury. None of that would end up in Richard Allen's trial. So it's ultimately the 75 items collected at Richard Allen's house that the defense wants to get rid of. Now, there were ultimately two searches on the house at 1900 on the 1900 block of Whiteman Drive, and Richard Allen shared that house with his wife Kathy, and I've read that they have a daughter. Now, since then, Kathy Allen has sold the home, a beautiful home, by the way. And because the house was put up for sale, there are plenty of photos on the inside of the house, even though I have questions about Kathy Allen and what she might know or what she likely would know. I think that showing pictures of the inside of the home is just an unnecessary invasion of privacy from a woman, who's already had her privacy invaded a lot. But I did want to show this really nice 3 bedroom, 2 bathroom that Kathy Allen, Richard Allen's wife, just sold. My guess is Delphi being a very small community, it was just south of Delphi. I read just 2 miles from the police station. I've read that the house is anywhere from 2 miles to 2.5 miles to from where Libby German and Abigail Williams' bodies were found. So Abigail Williams, 13, and Liberty Libby German, 14, were murdered in 2017. And 5 years later, a man living in Delphi, Richard Allen, this is his property that I'm showing now, was arrested for those murders. Now, Abby and Libby were best friends. I do wonder, having been a teenage girl myself, if the public really knows why Abby and Libby took the walk that they did that day on that bridge. It's crossed my mind. Could they have been meeting a boy or thought they were meeting a boy? But this is the property and it's been sold. And like I said, a very nice property. Richard Allen, when he was arrested, he had been in the Delphi community for about 16 years, and he's a pharmacy tech. And he is currently still a pharmacy tech. His license does not expire until June 30th, 2024. And so only the board can take Richard Allen's license. And my guess is, right, that'll be gone after June 30th, 2024. Richard Allen is being held in Wabash Valley Correctional Facility, a high security prison awaiting trial, which is in itself unique that Richard Allen has not been convicted of anything. Richard Allen's criminal record, it consists of two traffic violations, one for speeding and another for not wearing his seatbelt. And he's being held in this high security prison. Well, back to the original topic. And why is it important to get this affidavit thrown out? Well, let's start with what was written in the probable cause affidavit, because the defense says this is misleading. The court ultimately ruled that the affidavit is legal, that it is reasonable, not unconstitutional, as the defense claims, and that there were no recklessly omitted statements in this affidavit, according to Fran Gold, the judge on the case, the special judge, and no intent to mislead the court. So think about that, right? To get this probable cause affidavit thrown out, even if there are omitted statements, the defense would have to show that the statements were omitted recklessly, that no reasonable attorney would have omitted these statements, basically. And then, or the defense has to show that the state intentionally misled the court by leaving out certain statements or including false statements in order to get the probable cause affidavit through the court. So it's easier to get a search warrant than it is to get a search warrant thrown out. In my experience, getting a search warrant thrown out is somewhere the search was executed wrong, right? So anyway, let's get to the probable cause affidavit and let's see what the state wrote. I have 7 out of 8 pages here. I wouldn't mind showing it to you guys. I do have the probable cause affidavit, and I went through a little trouble to get it. So, February 14th, 2017, victim 1 and victim 2 were found deceased in the woods approximately 0.2 miles northeast of the Monon High Bridge in Carroll County. Their bodies were located on the north side of the Deer Creek. At the time, the Monon High Bridge Trail was an approximately 1 mile gravel trail terminating at the Monon High Bridge. The Monon High Bridge is an abandoned railroad trestle, approximately 0.5 miles long, spanning the Deer Creek and Deer Creek Valley on the southeast end of the trail. So this is where Abby and Libby's bodies were found. Approximately 0.7 miles northwest on the trail from the northwestern edge of the Monon High Bridge is the Freedom Bridge, which is a pedestrian bridge spanning State Road 25. Approximately 350 feet west of Freedom Bridge was a former railroad overpass over Old State Road 25, also known as County Road 300 North. The trail terminates just west of the former railroad overpass. The majority of the trail is a wooded area. That that the majority of the trail is a wooded area. Just 2 teenage girls going that direction willingly is, well, I don't hike. I love nature, but I don't hike. And I don't know, how normal it is for this, for Abby and Libby to be on this trail. Maybe there's not a lot to do in Delphi. The trails are historic, I read. And it was a beautiful day in February, thanks to another content creator I know that it was approximately 40 degrees February 13th, 2017 in Delphi, Indiana. So back to the affidavit, the probable cause affidavit. The trail terminates just west of the former railroad overpass. The majority of the trail is in a wooded area with a steep embankment on the south side of the trail. The entirety of the trail and the location of the girls' bodies were and are located in Carroll County, Indiana. And listen, that's just a legal thing, right? Is telling this particular court why it has jurisdiction to accept or reject this probable cause affidavit. So the state goes on to write through interviews, reviews of electronic records, and review of video at the Hoosier Harvest store. Investigators believe Abby and Libby were dropped off across from the Mears Farm at 1:49 p.m. February 13th, 2007. Now, we know from news reports, if you've been following this case, they were dropped off by a relative. The relative's name is omitted in the document that I have. And this document, I've gotten this document off the internet. I didn't go to the court to get it. The Mears Farm is located on the north side of County Road 300 North near an entrance to the trail. A video from victim two's phone. So the probable cause affidavit talks about victim number one, victim number two. We now know that Libby is victim number two because Libby took the 43-second video. A video from Libby's phone shows that at 2:13 p.m., victim one and victim two, Libby and Abby, encountered a male subject on the southeast portion of the Monon High Bridge. The male ordered the girls, guys, down the hill. No witnesses saw them after this time. No outgoing communications were found on victim two's phone, Libby, after this time. Their bodies were discovered on February 14th, 2017. Listen, if you, you guys can't see it if you're watching this video. You can't see the cause number at the top. So don't worry, I do have trust in the document. But keep in mind that in the probable cause affidavit that the state just described where the bodies were found, and the state knows, right, exactly where the girls were dropped off across from Mears Farm. They know exactly what time, 1:49 p.m. And they know that at 2:13, so what is that, 24 minutes, less than 30 minutes after being dropped off, Libby's phone shows the encounter with Bridge Guy. And you can hear in the video that Libby created and uploaded to Snapchat, you can hear a male voice saying, guys, down the hill. Now, seeing no witnesses saw them after this time, were there witnesses who actually saw Abby and Libby communicating with Bridge Guy? Because, right, that would be important. And the fact that there were no outgoing communications found on Libby's phone after that time is also important. So Libby doesn't even have the chance to call 911. And I've also read that one of the girls can be heard saying gun. So this would indicate that Bridge Guy is the perpetrator, and that Bridge Guy immediately took control of Abby and Libby, because there's nothing on her phone after that Snapchat video was taken. I have to wonder if the police, right, got so many different descriptions, and of who people saw on the bridge and who people described as creepy, because who and what people describe as creepy, right, might just be somebody, that's a little odd but completely harmless. So because of the sketches, I just don't believe with the sketch of the man in his 20s without the hat on. I just don't believe that the police in the beginning thought, right, that this was that Richard Allen, or that an older man, period, was their guy. I really think that the police were leaning toward a younger guy. And so what made the police, who admits that the sketches are of two different men, what made the police lean toward the younger guy? Was there a younger man seen on that part of the bridge at that time in close proximity to Abby and Libby? Okay, the affidavit. I'm not going to read all seven pages, because I want to get to what was taken out of Richard Allen's house. There is some very interesting items that I want to talk about specifically. The video recovered from victim to Libby's phone shows Abby walking southeast on the Monon High Bridge while a man wearing a dark jacket and jeans walks behind her. As the male subject approaches Abby and Libby, one of the girls mentions gun. Near the end of the video, a male is seen and heard telling the girls, "Guys, down the hill." The girls then begin to proceed down the hill, and the video ends. A still photograph taken from the video and the "Guys Down the Hill" audio was subsequently released to the public to assist investigators in identifying the male. I did not know that the video continued to actually show the girls walking down the steep hill. The state is careful. The state describes the jeans and the jacket that the man is wearing as dark versus blue. Who knows what settings a phone is on, what filter it's on. So just to be careful, just say dark colored clothing. I also didn't know that, listen to this again. The video recovered from victim two's phone shows victim one walking southeast on the Monon High Bridge, while a male subject wearing a dark jacket and jeans walks behind her. So, Bridge Guy is walking behind Abby. For Libby to get the video of him, Libby had to be facing the opposite direction. And there's that picture of Abby. There's the picture of Abby that Libby took on Monon High Bridge that is now to me just iconic. And I'm gonna see if I have that photo. And if you followed the Delphi murders, then you are aware of the photo that I'm talking about. And so that's what, wow, that's what we have. There is the last photo of Abigail Abby Williams. So the affidavit, it goes on to say that The girls' death were ruled as homicides. Clothes were found in the Deer Creek belonging to both girls, both Abby and Libby, south of where their bodies were located. There was also a 40 caliber unspent round less than 2 feet away from victim two's body, between victim one and victim two's bodies. The round was unspent and had extraction marks on it. So, an unspent round with extraction marks. Ballistics testing, right, claims that it is possible for them to, if they can find the gun that fired the bullet or that sent that unspent round through the chamber, that if they can get a hold of the gun, then they can possibly match the extraction marks. So keep in mind that's important when it comes to what was taken out of Richard Allen's house. So victim two is Liberty, Libby, the 14-year-old. And I find it interesting that the unspent 40 caliber round was less than 2 feet away from Libby's body. Now, it was between Abby and Libby's bodies, but the state does specifically state that it was 2 feet away from Libby's. Libby, I've said it before, she was a little older. She was 14. Both girls, from my understanding, were eighth graders. And I just really do wonder, right, if the perpetrator thought that he might have some sort of trouble from Libby, that she might try to stand up to him, try to fight him, try to encourage Abby to run with her. I don't know, but there was special attention paid to Libby Jarman. The affidavit talks about interviews conducted with three juveniles. And these three juveniles said they were on Monon High Bridge Trail on February 13th. And they were walking on the trail toward Freedom Bridge on their way home when they encountered a man walking from Freedom Bridge toward the Monon High Bridge. These three juveniles are walking toward Freedom Bridge and they encounter a man walking from Freedom Bridge toward the Monon High Bridge. These three juveniles described the man as kind of creepy and said that he was wearing, quote, like blue jeans, a like really light blue jacket. And his hair was gray, maybe a little brown, and he did not really show his face, unquote. Now, a blue jacket was also removed from Richard Allen's home. This juvenile, a female, said that the jacket was a duck canvas type jacket and said that she said hi to the man, but he glared at him. And this juvenile says she recalls him being in all black and had something covering his mouth. She described him as not very tall and having a bigger build. She said he was not taller than 5'10" and that he was wearing a black hoodie, black jeans, and black boots. She said that he had his hands in his pockets. So on the video with Bridge Guy, right? Blue jacket, blue jeans versus black jacket, black jeans. So that juvenile did show investigators photographs that she took when she was on the trail that day. And the photographs included a photo of the Monon High Bridge taken around 12:43 p.m. and another one taken at 1:26 p.m. of the bench east of the Freedom Bridge. So her latest photo was at 1:26 p.m. Of the Freedom Bridge. Abby and Libby are dropped off at 1:49 p.m. But Richard Allen, I believe, says that he gets to the trail around 1:30. Not a lot of difference between 1:26 and 1:30. And so this juvenile girl said that after she took the photo of the bench east of the Freedom Bridge, that she and her companion started walking back toward Freedom Bridge. And she said that when they encountered the man who matched the description of Bridge Guy, she described the man that she encountered on the trail as wearing a blue or black windbreaker jacket. Notice, right, how the juvenile story has changed before Libby's video and after Libby's video. Before Libby's video, this juvenile says that she saw a man that he was in a black jacket and that it was a duck canvas type jacket. And now, after Libby's video was released, that same juvenile is saying that the man on the trail had on a blue or black windbreaker jacket. She said the jacket had a collar and he had his hood up from the clothing underneath the jacket. She said he was wearing baggy jeans and was taller than her. She said her head came up to approximately his shoulder. And she said hi to the man and he didn't say anything back. She said he was walking with a purpose, like he knew where he was going. Do you see the ad lib to this witness before and after Libby's video? Do you think that this witness seeing the video of Bridge Guy is why suddenly she went from seeing a man in a dark black colored windbreaker to a man in a blue or black coat? I mean, into a man in a blue or black windbreaker, when before the video, what she saw was, right, a man that was in a black canvas type jacket. You think there's a big difference between a black canvas jacket and a blue or black windbreaker? So, okay, so not only does the color blue come up after Libby's video was released, but now this juvenile doesn't say before the video the man glared at her. Now, what she's saying is, right, that the man walked like he had a purpose, right? So she can give more about his height instead of him being having a bigger build and being 5'10". Now she says her head came up to approximately his shoulder. So the man still says nothing back to her in both stories. And in this second story, she said that this man had his hands in his pocket and he kept his head down. Before seeing Libby's video, this witness said the man glared at her after she said hi. After seeing the video, he kept his head down. She said that she didn't get a good look at his face, but she believed him to be a white male. And after encountering the guy, that she and her companions continued to walk across Freedom Bridge and the old railroad bridge over Old State Road 25. So they're really in the area that Abby and Libby are going to be in just in a few moments. So there is another witness, and this witness said that she was on the trails the day that Abby and Libby were murdered, and that a video from Hoosier Harvester captured a vehicle traveling east around 1:46 p.m. toward the entrance across from the Mears farm. Now, Abby and Libby were dropped off at 149. Now, she said that she saw four juvenile girls walking on the bridge over Old State Road 25, and she was driving underneath on her way to park. There were no other cars parked across from the Mears farm where she parked. She said she walked to the Monon High Bridge and she saw a man matching the one from Libby's video. She described the man she saw as a white man wearing blue jeans and a blue jean jacket. She said he was standing on the first platform of the Monon High Bridge, approximately 50 feet away from her. And this woman said that she turned around at the bridge and continued her walk. She said approximately halfway between the bridge and the parking area across from the Mears farm, she passed two girls walking toward Monon High Bridge. She says she believes that the two girls that she passed were Abby and Libby. So there's a video from Who's Your Harvester that shows at 1:49 p.m. a white car matching the vehicle traveling away from the entrance from the Mears farm. She said this witness said she finished her walk and saw no other adults other than the man on the bridge. Her vehicle is seen on Who's Your Harvester video at 2:14 p.m. leaving westbound from the trails. So this woman says she pulls up around 1:46 p.m. We know that Abby and Libby were dropped off in that same area around 1:49 p.m. The woman goes on a walk, says that she sees a guy that looks like Bridge Guy in Libby's video, and that she passed two girls leaving. That she passed two girls while on that bridge that she believed was Abby and Libby. And when she saw who she believed to be Abby and Libby, she said she was about halfway between the bridge and the parking area from Mears Farm. So her getting there 1:46, being halfway between the parking area and Mears Farm, and Abby and Libby being dropped off at 1:49 p.m. It's definitely possible that she saw Abby and Libby. It's definitely possible she saw Bridge Guy. I think that when she reported this, before the video would be stronger, would make this woman a stronger, this person a stronger witness for the state versus after the video. And so you get an idea of what's how this probable cause affidavit it is loaded. It's loaded. And it led to three searches. Two searches of Richard Allen's house and one search of his car. And about 2 weeks later, he was arrested and charged with double homicide. So a man observed a purple PT Cruise or a small SUV type vehicle parked on the south side of the old CPS building. This interests me. He said that it appeared as though it was backed in as to conceal the license plate of the vehicle. Do any of you back your car into a parking space versus just pulling into it? How does being backed in? I guess we would have to see the video. Can just backing your car in, could just that alone be sneaky? Or can a car look as though it is trying to conceal its license plates? I guess we'd have to see. Now, this man drew a diagram, right, of the area and where he saw the vehicle parked. And the man said that he remembered seeing a smaller, darker colored car at the old CPS building. And he said it was possibly like one of those little smart cars. and he saw this little dark colored car leave around 2:28 p.m. on the Hoosier Harvest Store video. Now, I I I think that the way the state is writing it, it can make it look like the witness was looking at the video. No, I think the witness is telling the court. I mean, I think the state is telling the court the witness saw the dark colored video leaving that area, and that's corroborated by video at Hoosier Harvester. I don't want to bore you guys, but I do want to be clear. And so there's another witness who said they saw a man walking west away from Monon High Bridge. And this witness, a woman, said that this man was wearing a blue colored jacket and blue jeans and muddy and bloody. This is the infamous muddy and bloody witness. And she said that it appeared she got that this man had been in a fight. And so the investigators determined from watching the Hoosier Harvest Store video that around 3:57 p.m., right, that an unnamed person was traveling on County Road 300 North. I don't know who that unknown person is, but 3:57 kind of puts us out of the time frame that Abby's Snapchat video began, and when Richard Allen said that he was actually on the trail. So you get an idea of what's in here. And I'll tell you really quick about Richard Allen's October 13th interview. And this video is getting kind of long. So then I'm going to get into what was found at the house. So now Richard Allen, he drives a 2016 black Ford Focus and a 2006 gray Ford 500. And this 2016 Ford Focus resembles the dark colored car that's seen on the Hoosier Harvest Store video around 1:27 p.m. that the guy said looked kind of like a little smart car, remember? And that, the state says, coincide with Richard Allen's statement that he got to the trails around 1:30 p.m. So the witnesses, according to investigators in the state, right, says that it's reasonable but to believe that that dark colored car was Allen's 2016 Ford Focus. Now, I promised the October 13th interview. So the October 13th interview, Richard Allen was interviewed again by investigators. And Allen said that he was on the trails February 13th, 2017, and that he saw juvenile girls on the trail east of Freedom Bridge, and that he went on to the Monon High Bridge. Could that have been the young lady with the companions who had taken a couple of photos and said the guy glared at her and that he looked like he was walking with purpose? Perhaps. Allen went on to tell investigators that he went from Freedom High Bridge to Monon High Bridge, from Freedom Bridge to Monon High Bridge, and that he, Allen, went out onto the Monon High Bridge to watch the fish. And later in the statement, Allen said he walked out to the first platform on the bridge. He said that he walked back, sat on a bench on the trail, and then he left. And Allen told investigators that he was wearing blue jeans and a blue or black Carhartt jacket with a hood. Allen said he may have been wearing some type of head covering as well. Now, this is October 13th, 2022. This is 5 years later. 5 years after the murder. And Richard Allen can describe to the police what he was wearing. and it almost matches the witness's descriptions to the T. Okay, I'm sorry that I interrupted during Allen's statement. So Allen told investigators that he was wearing blue jeans and a blue or black Carhartt jacket with a hood, and that he may have been wearing some type of head covering. Allen went on to say that he saw no one else except for the juvenile girls he saw east of Freedom Bridge. He told investigators that yes, he does own firearms and that he does keep them at his home. So Kathy Allen, Richard Allen's wife, she also spoke to investigators, and Kathy Allen confirmed that Richard did have guns and knives at the house. And Kathy said that Richard still owns a blue Carhartt jacket. So October 13th is when the search warrant was executed. Now, I am going to repeat what investigators said Richard Allen told them. Then I'm going to take a short break and come back and talk about what was found in Richard Allen's house. Listen to this. 5 years after the murders, Richard Allen tells investigators that he saw minor girls on the trails east of Freedom Bridge, and that he then went on to the Monenhigh Bridge, and that he went out onto the Monenhigh Bridge to watch the fish. Allen went on to say that he walked out on the first platform on the bridge. He said he then walked back, sat on a bench on the trail, and then he left. He said he parked his car on the side of an old building. He told investigators that he was wearing blue jeans and a blue or black Carhartt jacket with a hood. He said he may have been wearing some type of head covering like a hat or a toboggan on his head. And all he claims that the only teenage girls he saw were the girls that were east of the Freedom Bridge. Listen, that alone corroborates the woman's statement, right? Who said that she saw a man dressed like Richard Allen standing on the first platform of the Monenhigh Bridge. The problem for Allen is that the same woman said that she passed two teenage girls, and that those two teenage girls she believed to be Libby and Abby. Not only that, Allen tells investigators, right, he parked his car by an old behind an old building. A witness who said that Allen was seen leaving around 1:27 p. What around 1:27 p.m. That car was backed in next to the old CPS building. Allen didn't just put himself on the trails during the time that Abby and Libby was on the trails. In my opinion, with that statement, Allen pretty much put himself on the Monenhigh Bridge around the same time that Abby and Libby would have been on Monenhigh Bridge, and that woman said there were no other adults around. So I'm going to take a small break. This video is running long, so I'm going to come back in less than a minute, and then in less than 10 minutes, I'm going to show you what was pulled out of Richard Allen's house and what was pulled out of Richard Allen's car. Okay, I'm back. Short break. So, we just went over the probable cause affidavit, right? The probable cause affidavit led to the search warrant, and this is what the search warrant led to. So, October 13th at around 7:09 p.m., a search warrant is executed on Richard Allen's home that he owns with his wife, Kathy. And the one of the biggest like pieces of physical evidence that the state has is that unspent 40 caliber bullet with the extractions on it that was found in between the girls' bodies. And in the first search, police find a black Sig Sauer PS 25 40 caliber, a 40 caliber saw cartridge found in the Sig Sauer, a magazine filled with 840 caliber cartridges, right? So why police took 4 car chargers and 3 wall outlets? I can't answer that question. And please do me a favor, ignore the background noise. So the police go back a second time. They're there the first time, October 13th, 2022. They around 7 p.m. The police go back a second time around 9:45, and Abby and Libby reportedly the cause of death, the instrument that caused both girls' death was quote a sharp object. So 7 knives, right? 8 folding knives. So four multi tools. The man maybe he collects live knives. You go on down, right? 3 pair of boots, 3 coats, 4 various stocking caps and hats, 2 HP laptops. If Richard Allen did this, could he have been keeping up with the investigation? Could he have been obsessively searching on the laptop for any news as to what police had found and what police knew? 3 flash drives, one labeled Rick. So I don't think it's a big deal to have ammo when you own a gun. I don't think that it's that odd, right, for a man to collect knives. But we'll see out of 15 knives, how easy is it to say that one of those knives could have caused the fatal injuries to Abby and Libby? Traces of DNA, blood from Abby or Libby. Now that would be a smoking gun. Now, I want to show you this and then I'll let you go. This is from the Ford Focus. So, swabs of the carpet area under a spare tire. Spare tires are usually kept in the trunk, correct? Right? Swabbing from the driver's seatbelt, the lap belt, the part that goes around your waist, the shoulder belt, and swabbing from the passenger side, carpeted floors. So either A, investigators think it's possible that Abby and Libby at some point were in Richard Allen's Ford Focus, or more likely, if Richard Allen committed this crime, then according to what the defense says, from the nature of the victim's wounds, the perpetrator would have had to have gotten a lot of blood on him. Not to mention the fact Abby's hair, Libby's hair, could their hair have been transferred onto Richard Allen? Could particles of their clothing have been transferred onto Richard Allen? Could he have gotten back to his car and put either the knife that he allegedly used, or pieces of clothing in the trunk of that car? Is that why they're swabbing for carpet? They're looking for DNA traces, right? Of a transfer from Abby and or Libby to Richard Allen to his vehicle. If Richard Allen's blue coat shows right? That it could have DNA on it. That's Abby or Libby's. I'm going to flip out to have that 5 years later that would say that the FBI agent was right and that, he wanted to keep memorabilia. Well, I think that's about all that I have for you. I think that I did mention that some of the girls as clothing items, that some of their clothing was found in Deer Creek. And there's a live stream that I did that talks about the investigators allegedly in their search warrant looking for two missing clothing items, a pair of underwear and a pair of socks. So Richard Allen is not accused of sexual assault. He is accused of double homicide. And I want to thank you all for joining me today and having the patience to sit through such a long video.